Tonight on NewsWatch, a defiant dictator airstrikes against Muammar Gaddafi's compound. Still, the Libyan leader promises it will be a long war.
Plus, a nuclear setback, more smoke from a damaged reactor in Japan. Now there are concerns about the water and food in Tokyo.
And abstaining from the sexual revolution. A new study says people who wait for marriage are happier. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Airstrikes against Libya are effectively preventing Muammar Gaddafi from attacking his own people. Good evening, I'm Lee Webb.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. It's day 3 of the international no-fly zone over Libya, and military leaders believe they've stopped Muammar Gaddafi's ground assault near Benghazi. U.S., British, and French bombers have hit dozens of targets. It's protecting rebels trying to oust the long-term dictator. John Waggy has more now in our top story.
As coalition members took off again to enforce the no-fly zone, the whereabouts of Muammar Gaddafi were in question. 2 British cruise missiles wiped out a building in his Tripoli compound, but the U.S. insists he is not a target.
We're not going after Gaddafi.
Meanwhile, near the eastern city of Benghazi, Libyan rebels celebrated as U.S. and NATO forces attacked a government convoy and destroyed Gaddafi's ammunition supply. The rebels also claim that Gaddafi is taking civilians from a rebel-held city to use as human shields in the fighting. While Gaddafi is still a danger, military officials believe they have neutralized his air force.
We have not observed Libyan military aircraft operating since the beginning of coalition military operations.
A Libyan spokesman called for a ceasefire Sunday, but the U.S. military is having none of it.
I question anything out of that Gaddafi calls for. He called for a ceasefire and then told his troops to move into Benghazi.
The Libyan leader has promised a long, drawn-out war. The rebels say they are ready.
We die or we win. We have no other choice. We die or we win.
Tino Kahush is a cameraman and journalist who is in Benghazi, Libya right now. We spoke with him just hours ago about what the scene is like on the ground.
The city was in jubilation, and the whole city was just like an unbelievable state of celebration. Women, which is unheard of, women were dancing in the streets. And as I see now outside the window, they're probably bringing in some either captured. Usually, what happens? They capture some soldiers from Gaddafi's troops, and they come here and they bring them to the city and celebrate. And you may hear even some gunshots in a second or two, but here you could hear it today now. But at the moment, the situation in Benghazi is very calm and semi-safe. The people are very happy for what happened outside.
That gunfire sounded awfully close. John, the U.S. military has said that the goal is not to take out Muammar Gaddafi. What then is the goal?
Well, that's a question a lot of people are asking, Lee. Ostensibly, it is to protect these civilians who Gaddafi has been killing and threatening over the last 3 weeks. But the problem is that he's somewhat backed into a corner. In fact, he's very, very much backed into a corner now because the international community has promised investigations into him, trials, that sort of thing, if he doesn't give up. And so he's basically seeing this as a fight to the death here with the arrival of the military and everything. So it's the question is also, if you don't go after Gaddafi and leave him in place, how long will he remain there, and how is that defending the civilians that have been attacked lately? So, the conundrum.
Right. Andrew McCarthy and other notable conservatives have come out against the president taking this action, but also some in the president's camp on the liberal side of things.
That's right.
Have spoken out against it. What do you make of that?
Well, from both the left and the right, ironically enough, they're coming together and say, hey, wait a minute, we have a constitution. This was a UN resolution. Both Hillary Clinton and President Obama have said, hey, the UN has authorized this, and so we're going to do it. But the U.S. military is authorized by the Congress of the United States. And so both people who are conservative and who are liberal are saying, take this to the Congress and let them approve it if it's an action that we feel warranted as a people.
Unrest, of course, going on as all this is happening in Libya. Unrest going on in places like Yemen, Bahrain, even Syria, Saudi Arabia. Do you suppose that folks who are initiating that unrest are expecting now the United States and France and Great Britain to come to their aid?
Well, I imagine they'd like it. Their uprisings are happening for different reasons. In Syria, it's the arrest of some children that led to a riot Friday that led to several deaths. And there are more demonstrations as we speak. And the al-Qaeda battle's going on in Yemen, and so the president there fired his cabinet, and there are rival tanks in the streets right now. In Egypt, you've got more confirmation that Christians were killed by army members in that riot a couple weeks ago. And then we've got Iran threatening to target Saudi interests all over the world as a result of the Saudis' involvement in Bahrain. So lots of fires to put out, and I don't think we're going to put them all out.
Yeah, the most unrest we've seen in our lifetime, probably. Thanks, John, for your report.
Sure.
The ongoing turmoil in the Middle East is keeping oil prices high. That's having an impact on gas prices right here in the U.S. In some parts of the country, it's topping $4 a gallon. Filling the cart at the grocery store is also more expensive. Food prices rose nearly 4% last month. That's the biggest leap in 36 years. Severe weather and crop shortages are the main factors behind the jump.
The U.S. military is apologizing for graphic pictures of U.S. troops and dead Afghan civilians. Those pictures show smiling soldiers posing with the bloodied and partially clothed bodies. The Army calls the photographs repugnant and says they depicted actions contrary to the values of the U.S. Army. Officials seized those pictures while looking into the deaths of 3 unarmed Afghans last year.
A top U.S. nuclear regulator had calming words today for both Japanese and Americans worried about those nuclear plants damaged by Japan's massive earthquake and tsunami. Bill Borchardt told other members of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission today the situation at Fukushima plant, the one hit worst, is now stabilizing. And he reported readings there show Americans need not fear any radiation leakage from those damaged plants.
In fact, natural background from things like from rocks, sun, buildings, is 100,000 times more than any level that has been detected to date.
7 workers did have to evacuate the nuclear plant for a while today. They fled as a cloud of gray smoke puffed out of a reactor. It's unclear what caused the smoke. Meanwhile, radiation leaked last week is showing up in Tokyo's tap water and food supply. Stores refused to sell milk, spinach, and other leafy vegetables produced near the reactor. Tests showed they had unsafe levels of radiation.
Operation Blessing is continuing to help the people of Japan. David Darg brings us an up-to-date report on efforts to keep people warm who are in shelters right now.
Behind me you can see the ocean and the city of Otsuchi. Operation Blessing has come here. We've continued moving north, and we've been given exceptional favor with the Japanese police and the military, and they led us to a shelter where some of the residents of this city have been living. We were able to purchase kerosene, which is the #1 most needed thing in this area because it's exceptionally cold at the moment. Without that fuel, they can't heat the shelters, and it's extremely dangerous because the temperatures are very, very low.
In just 3 days, Operation Blessing has helped 2,500 victims. You can learn more about its efforts and how you can take part at cbnnews.com. CBN News has learned that the man in charge of dealing with Japan's nuclear crisis is a member of Japan's tiny Christian community. Now, Yoshi Sato is the country's Vice Minister of Construction and Transportation, and as such, he's been placed in charge of that response team at the endangered nuclear plant and is leading the mission to cool the overheated reactors. Christians in Japan are asking the global church to pray for Mr. Sato. They say he needs God's wisdom and strength as he tries to prevent a nuclear catastrophe.
Back here at home, another Republican is entering the 2012 presidential race. Former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty announced today he will form an exploratory committee to raise money for the campaign. In recent weeks, Pawlenty traveled to early primary states. He wants to appeal to fiscal conservatives and Tea Party members. Pawlenty has openly opposed both abortion and gay rights. He was reportedly on John McCain's short list of vice presidential candidates in 2008.
And the person John McCain did choose for his running mate arrived today in Israel. Sarah Palin's 2-day visit was billed as private and details were kept quiet. But Palin was mobbed by photographers anyway as she toured the Western Wall tunnels.
Absolutely beautiful and overwhelming to be able to see and touch much the cornerstone of our faith. It's overwhelming, and I'm so thankful to get to be here, and very thankful to know that the American and Israeli link connection will grow and strengthen as we seek peace along with you. It's overwhelming to be here. Thank you.
Palin is touring Jerusalem and is due to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for dinner. Netanyahu has recently met in Jerusalem with several U.S. politicians, all of them considering possible candidates for the Republican presidential nomination.
Well, Americans could soon have one less choice for wireless phone service. AT&T agreed to buy T-Mobile USA for $39 billion. The federal government will have to approve the deal. That could take a year. After that, AT&T says T-Mobile users with 3G service would need to replace their phones. And coming up, waiting for something better. More young people choose purity over promiscuity and find they are happier for it.
Do you take fish oil? There's an omega-3 supplement that's better than regular fish oil.
Staying healthy, it's not easy. I exercise regularly and eat lots of fruits and vegetables. I used to take a fish oil supplement too, but then I discovered something better than regular fish oil. Arctic Wonder Omega-3 Krill Oil. It's from the makers of One A Day, so I know I can trust it. The omega-3s in Arctic Wonder both support heart health and are scientifically proven to be better absorbed than regular fish oil. Just one dose of Arctic Wonder Omega-3 Krill Oil has the strength of 3 times as much regular fish oil. That means you'd have to take 6 of these fish oil soft gels to get the strength of just 2 Arctic Wonder soft gels, and it supports healthy cholesterol.
I take 2 caplets in the morning. They go down real easy.
My other fish oil were 6 capsules, and they were real big. It's easy to swallow.
Now you can get a 1-month supply of Arctic Wonder during this special trial offer. To find out how, just call or go online now. Arctic Wonder is not available in stores. Arctic Wonder isn't just good for your heart, it also supports healthy brain function and a healthy immune system. Plus, Arctic Wonder is better absorbed than regular fish oil. You won't find Arctic Wonder in any store, but if you call or go online now, you can receive a special trial offer.
They say that if you have your health, you have everything. So why not do all you can to take care of yourself? I take Arctic Wonder every day. Just 2 little soft gels give me the strength of 6 regular fish oil soft gels.
Arctic Wonder Omega-3 Krill Oil is better absorbed than regular fish oil and has no fishy aftertaste.
The Arctic Wonder does not have an aftertaste.
I was very happy with the fact I wasn't tasting it later.
I love my Arctic Wonder.
This is one of the products that I plan to take for the rest of my life.
Arctic Wonder is from One A Day, and it's not available in stores. For a special trial offer, call or go online now. Call 1-800-850-2235. That's 1-800-850-2235. Or go online to tryarcticwonder.com now.
A new study shows the number of young people who've decided to remain virgins rose from 22 to 28% in just 6 years.
Another study shows the most promiscuous people are the most depressed, while those who practice sexual restraint are the happiest. Paul Strand has more.
People are starting to get organized and fight back against a sex-saturated culture. Washington Area Ministries recently celebrated an Abstinence Awareness Week with a forum entitled Sex, What They Don't Tell You. Author Tara White was the featured speaker, sharing hard lessons she learned about promiscuity from her own sad experience.
I had been dropped, broken, mishandled, and misused in a relationship. And I had felt if I had only known then the things that I know now concerning sex, marriage, and relationships, that I would have made some different choices.
Such events are telling young people a world of abstinence outside of marriage will make them happier, safer, and more fulfilled, no matter what the secular culture preaches. In that culture, 1 out of 4 youth gets a sexually transmitted disease. In parts of Washington, 82% of births are to single mothers. Richard Urban helped organize this D.C. event and says stats show kids will listen if their parents preach an abstinence message.
When we see the statistics of youth who are getting involved with sex or sexually transmitted disease or just heartbreak or pregnancy, I can't just sit around as a parent.
Author Gerard Henry took part in a Washington panel discussion on fighting promiscuity and the ills it brings.
The messaging in our culture is a pornographic message at the end of the day. So we have to be very intent on increasing this message about purity, about marriage, the value of marriage, the beauty of marriage. And again, I have to say it starts with mom and dad, husbands and wives first. And the child will want to emulate that.
Young people who abstain will find they're far from alone. New CDC stats show the number rising dramatically in the new century. Here in D.C., 42% of high schoolers have never had sex, and that's twice as many as 2 decades ago. Derek Cuffey is a proud 28-year-old virgin and says it doesn't cost him anything that really matters.
Sometimes you have to be prepared to maybe lose some people in your life, but if the people that you call your friends, really your friends, they will do nothing but help you and support you for what you stand for.
Henry says to succeed, you have to remember who you are in God and feed that.
You are a spiritual being, not just a sexual being.
He says constant worship and chasing God will feed that spiritual being.
I was not born a loser, I was born a chooser.
And because God gave us free will and choice, Harlem preacher Michael Faulkner insists,
I can exercise that free will to abstain from my sexual lust.
Final startling stats. Girls experimenting with sex are 2 to 3 times more likely to be depressed than those who don't. And sexually active kids are more likely to drink, smoke, do drugs, get suspended, get arrested. Outside marriage, sex can hurt rather than enhance your life.
Without God's protection, sex can be destructive.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Gay rights activists are turning up the heat on Apple for its approval of a ministry's phone application. Change.org launched a petition demanding Apple remove the app by Exodus International. For 35 years, Exodus has ministered to homosexuals wanting to leave the lifestyle.
Up next, mixed messages, where you can lose your job for speaking out against homosexuality.
CBNNews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
David Brody, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore. CBNNews.com, at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see. I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
I'm Chris Mitchell, reporting from Jerusalem.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
Attention investors, now is the time to protect your retirement accounts and investments. Excessive government spending is devaluing the US dollar and high rates of inflation are coming. Gold has tripled since 2001 and some experts predict the prices will climb another 100%. Buy gold now, direct and wholesale with United Gold Group. The demand for gold around the world is higher than ever. Foreign countries like China and India are buying up gold at record rates. Why? What do they know that you don't?
Call now and get your Gold Investors Kit absolutely free. Call in the next 5 minutes and receive The Secret to Owning Gold in Your Retirement Account, also absolutely free. Just call 1-800-758-5070. That's 1-800-758-5070.
This could be the most important call you make this year. United Gold Group, investing in America's future.
If you're an individual group or business needing a dental plan, Avia Dental offers group plans for as little as $5 per month. Now members of your group can save up to 50% or more off a high-quality dental care. Everyone qualifies, and there's no waiting or limits on visits to the dentist. Visit aviadental.com or call 1-888-431-CARE. Avia Dental since 1994. Smile, you're with people who care.
How will you survive this recession? What if you lose your job, your income? The answers are in this new book, Survivor's Guide to a Recession, 50 States. It outlines free assistance you can get now that will reveal unique ways to make additional income, outline ways to save more money, uncover amazing resources for finding free food and clothing, locate incredible discounts of 75% or more, good in all 50 states, and now only $14.95. Get yours today while supplies last. Survivor's Guide to a Recession, 50 States.
Great Britain is developing its own form of free speech.
You can mock the Bible and make fun of Christians, but you can lose your job if you dare suggest that homosexuals can change. Dale Hurd has tonight's Focus Report from London.
Christian therapist Leslie Pilkington's career may be over.
because she tried to help a homosexual man who said he wanted to leave the gay lifestyle. The incident happened in 2009.
I was approached by a young man who said that his name was Matthew Stins, actually, and that he was gay, he was very unhappy, and he was depressed, and he wanted to leave the lifestyle, and would I be able to help him?
But his real name was not Matthew Stins. It was Patrick Strudwick, and he was lying about why he had come to her.
And to be quite honest, I totally believed everything that he said. I had no reason to suspect anything else. He seemed to me to be very anxious. He kept asking a lot of the same questions, but I thought that was because he was just trying to decide if this was the right therapist for him.
Leslie says that throughout 2 counseling sessions, Patrick made it clear that he wanted to leave the gay lifestyle. What she didn't know was that he was an undercover journalist, and he had a tape recorder strapped to his body.
Then the counseling sessions ended, and Leslie's professional nightmare began.
And he then telephoned me to say that, in fact, he was not at all who he said he was. His voice completely changed. He said that he had just lied about everything, his name, address, occupation, that he wasn't unhappy at all, that he was a gay journalist, he was happy in his gay lifestyle, and that his purpose was to expose me and people like me.
And he wrote about his experience with Leslie in 2 of Britain's biggest papers. Pilkington now faces disciplinary proceedings by the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. Among her transgressions, praying to God to heal Strudwick of his homosexuality, and having an agenda that homosexuality is wrong. She could lose her accreditation. Andrea Williams heads the Christian Legal Center, which is helping Pilkington.
If you believe that a homosexual can change their behaviour, you will lose your job. You will be disabused of your position. You will lose your professional accreditation.
The gay agenda is one of the most potent political movements in the United Kingdom, even though according to a poll there are not very many homosexuals in Britain. Only 1.5% of the population. That's 750,000 homosexuals in a nation of 60 million people.
There's been an incredible shift in our nation, but in our media and particularly in our law, that treats the whole homosexual issue, the whole gay agenda, as something that absolutely equivalent to race.
They call it human rights, and they use these grand terms like tolerance and diversity. There's a hard-nosed political agenda of which an objective appears to be to remove Judeo-Christian morality from the public realm.
The British government has approved a plan to insert homosexual themes throughout school curricula, even math, to help children view homosexuality as normal. Meanwhile, the British High Court has ruled in a landmark case that Christian beliefs on sexual ethics may be harmful to children. One of the riskier things to say in Britain today, especially if you're a therapist, is that homosexuals are not born that way, or that homosexuals can become heterosexual. After Strudwick's undercover investigation, the British Medical Association decided to brand gay conversion therapy as harmful. Strudwick told CBN News that gay people in Britain are, as they are everywhere, at risk of hate, intolerance, and persecution. He said there is no empirical evidence conversion therapy works, and there is plenty of evidence that conversion therapy does damage. He added that love needs no cure. Diamond and Pilkington say conversion therapy works.
People do change after treatment, and it has a high success rate, and there's no evidence of any harm. That is actually the evidence.
Science actually backs up the Word of God. And as Christians, it's to be encouraged to hear that science is backing up the Word of God, and that you are not born that way.
Pilkington, who has a son who is gay, waits to see if she will be banned from ever counseling again. She believes God is taking her through this experience and using it in people's lives.
I also feel that the Lord's giving me an opportunity in that to try and speak to those who are in a homosexual lifestyle, but who are unhappy. And really the message is that you're not born that way. You don't have to stay in that lifestyle. There's hope. And that's a really important message for today, that there's hope.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, London.
Coming up, making a stand. A young wrestler refuses to let his disability keep him from reaching the top.
Attention investors, now is the time to protect your retirement accounts and investments. Excessive government spending is devaluing the US dollar and high rates of inflation are coming. Gold has tripled since 2001, and some experts predict the prices will climb another 100%. Buy gold now, direct and wholesale with United Gold Group. The demand for gold around the world is higher than ever. Foreign countries like China and India are buying up gold at record rates. Why? What do they know that you don't?
Call now and get your Gold Investors Kit absolutely free. Call in the next 5 minutes and receive The Secret to Owning Gold in Your Retirement Account, also absolutely free. Just call 1-800-758-5070. That's 1-800-758-5070.
This could be the most important call you make this year. United Gold Group, investing in America's future.
If you're an individual group or business needing a dental plan, Avia Dental offers group plans for as little as $5 per month. Now members of your group can save up to 50% or more off a high-quality dental care. Everyone qualifies, and there's no waiting or limits on visits to the dentist. Visit aviadental.com or call 1-888-431-CARE. Avia Dental since 1994. Smile, you're with people who care.
How will you survive this recession? What if you lose your job, your income? The answers are in this new book, Survivor's Guide to a Recession 50 States. It outlines free assistance you can get now that will reveal unique ways to make additional income, outline ways to save more money, uncover amazing resources for finding free food and clothing, locate incredible discounts of 75% or more, good in all 50 states, and now only $14.95. Get yours today while supplies last. Survivor's Guide to a Recession 50 States.
An Arizona State wrestler is the new national champion for his weight class.
22-year-old Anthony Robles finished his senior season with a 36-0 record. If you didn't know Anthony, you'd probably be shocked by that. Take a look at this. Anthony was born without one leg, with only one leg. But he's found a way for it to give him an advantage in the sport of wrestling. He has much more upper body strength, you see, than most of the other wrestlers in his weight class.
It's just all about capitalizing on your strengths, and not focusing so much on your weaknesses.
And the upper body strength of Robles on display.
Beautiful technique by Robles.
Anthony Robles has shown us that impossible is nothing.
It's amazing. On the medals podium, Robles was given a standing ovation by the sellout crowd of nearly 20,000 people.
I love what he says about it's about capitalizing on your strengths and not focusing on your weaknesses. We can all learn so much from that, can't we?
I remember doing a story on a young diver, a young woman who was born without arms, and she was a competitive diver. And
oh my goodness.
We were all surprised by it, and everybody should be. But she said, I don't know anything different, and so she learned to adapt. And I guess the same is true for Anthony.
Yeah.
But it's just an amazing story. Articulate young man, he's going to go very, very far in life too, even after sports.
Absolutely. God bless him. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Good night.